Welcome to the Criminal Defense Show, where we dive into the exciting world of criminal defense attorneys. I am your host, Kelly Carpenter. My guest today is Mr. Mark Scheuerman, owner of the law office of Mark G. Scheuerman in Baltimore. Mark is an avid fisherman. He is an exemplary family man, devoted father and husband, and perhaps most impressive, he's still very, very early into his career, but he's built a very, very impressive law firm. And he's a shining example of what's possible when you work smarter, not harder. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks, Kelly. Great to see you.
Good to have you here. You're the first guest we've had on the show who I've personally worked with before. So I'm excited to delve into this because I know a lot about you and you have a lot of really good information for our guest today.
Great to be here.
A lot has happened since we started working together. It was back in 2017. And as far as growing your business, a lot has changed over that time, and we'll get to that. But before we do, I want you to give us a little bit of background on the size and scope of your practice, as well as your journey into the practice of law.
Sure. So I currently have 6 full-time employees. That includes myself. I have 2 associate attorneys, 2 paralegals, and a legal assistant. I also have a part-time bookkeeper and an extern that is working remotely presently. But that's about the size of the shop. And you said how I got into it. Was that sort of the second part of it?
Yeah. What led you into the practice of law, specifically criminal law?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I graduated in 2009 from law school, and I was a criminal justice major with undergrad and had a Spanish minor. And I had done a number of internships in public defender's office and attorney general's office that had me interested in criminal law. But in law school, I was moving a little bit towards civil law, and I got a job in 2009 when I graduated doing mostly civil litigation work. And I did that for a few years, and I just had an opportunity, not really doing criminal work there, but I had an opportunity where a family friend had been charged with a crime, and he was going to go to court by himself. And it was possession with intent to distribute marijuana back when marijuana was more criminal. And he was going to go to court by himself. And it was just confusing to me, like, why would you possibly want to go to court by yourself when you're facing a felony? Like, at the time, I didn't know a lot about criminal law, but I knew that I would do better than him going by himself to try to negotiate some type of resolution for the case. So I charged him $500, very minimal fee for that type of case. But wanted to help the guy out and knew I was going to be gone from my firm, so I had to pay the firm something. And we went to court for that case, and we had it reduced to simple possession of marijuana, and he got what's called probation before judgment for simple possession, which is a sort of a diversionary disposition in Maryland, and not a conviction, and it was a very good result. But what happened was during the course of sort of the mitigation presentation, which is presenting my client's background and sort of why the judge should be lenient with my client. During the mitigation presentation, I had this fire in my stomach I had never experienced before, just this deep, deep passion. And I felt that my words were important and they could actually implicate the direction that the judge went for this gentleman's life. And just the importance and the power of that was, something I had never experienced before doing civil law. And I was just like, this is it. This is what I've been missing out on. This is what really helping people on a very basic human level, which is something that really, really inspired me. And I just decided at that point that criminal law was where I was going, and I decided to open my own practice and pursue criminal law in that way.
I love it. That's a great story. I've never heard that before. All right. Well, I want to ask you next about what you are typically responsible for at the firm. Obviously, you've got a lot of different players in place to help you out, but what things do you take on in your role?
And my role has definitely changed over the years. At one point it was just me, and I was responsible for answering the phone, signing clients up, going to court, scanning, emailing, faxing, copying, just everything. And that's just sort of the progression. I got an assistant next and had help with more administrative things, and then I needed help with court. So I hired my first associate to help, fill in with court. Now my role in the firm is more of a CEO role, and one of my primary responsibilities is bringing in work. to really support the firm. And I've been told by a number of different people in my life, including my business coach and my accountant, and one of my brothers who's an investment banker, that my highest value to the firm is not actually being in court. My highest value to the firm is being able to be in the office and signing up clients, because that's the way the needle moves forward, and that's the way that that the firm can move forward and grow. I do still go to court. That's sure, for sure, probably 2 to 3 days a week. But my primary responsibility, as I see it now, is bringing in business so that the firm grows and the firm moves forward, and we do well that way. I also, have a large management responsibility in the firm. We do criminal defense as well as personal injury work, and we have meetings every week. We have a criminal meeting every week, and we have a personal injury meeting every week to make sure that the cases are moving in the right direction, that they're signed properly, that things are happening the way they should be happening. And so more of a management and sales intake role right now.
Got it. I'm curious, how much time elapsed from when you started your firm and you probably imagined yourself just practicing law, and like running the business a little bit. But how long did it take for you to realize, with the help of, your brother and your other advisors, that you did want to move into more of, I don't want to use the word administrative because it's not, but more of, running the business side of things than just practicing law, than just being in the courtroom?
So I say it was probably in 2019 that my business coach has always told me that my highest value is managing the firm. But it really hit home in 2019 when I was sitting down with my accountant, and he was like, well, Mark, you've more than doubled over the past year income wise, revenue wise. What is the reason? And I didn't have a reason on the tip of my tongue, working hard. I've always been working hard, but it was the addition of an associate attorney that was the real answer when we got down to it. And that was really when I realized, well, the growth of the firm is going to be directly tied to how many attorneys we can have working and going to different hearings and opening and closing cases. So I would say probably 2019 is when I really realized that that was where my role was best served for the firm.
Gotcha. Well, what advice do you have for attorneys who are a little bit hesitant to make that jump and hire on an associate? They're trying to run it themselves right now, and maybe considering hiring a second person or even a third person, but they just are nervous because that's an additional paycheck. That's a huge expense for the law firm. So how did you confront that?
Well, we all have limiting beliefs, and this is one thing that my business coach has helped me understand it from the very beginning. We all have limiting beliefs in life, and we can either choose to be controlled by those limiting beliefs, or we can take risks and put our money where our mouth is. And the first limiting belief I had was the first assistant that I hired. And the thing I was telling myself is I can't afford to hire an assistant. Well, the turnaround statement is I can't afford not to hire an assistant. And like literally with positive affirmations, I was just telling myself that. My business coach told me that. Well, what's a turnaround statement? If the fear that I have inside is I can't afford to hire an assistant, well, the turnaround is, like I said, I can't afford not to. And I really started to believe that. And then once I hired my assistant, I definitely believed it. I can't afford not to have this person in the firm to help answer phone calls, help sort mail, help do lead follow up for leads that I speak with that haven't yet engaged the firm. And there really is an ROI on every seat in the firm. At least there should be an ROI on every seat in the firm. So yes, there's an expense associated with an assistant. There's a large expense associated with an associate. And I don't just have any associates here. I have guys with 15 and 16 years of experience. One associate, Ken, was a prosecutor for 12 years, has been in here for 2 years. And so 14 years in practice. And Matt's been doing criminal defense for 16 years. So these aren't just any lawyers, they're expensive lawyers, but there's an ROI on that position. And, I can be stuck in court all day, but that doesn't help the firm to move forward. And we're all going to have limiting beliefs. throughout our practice, and they don't go away, and really in life too. They don't go away. They might change, but taking risks and putting your money where your mouth is has helped me. And you know, one attorney that's pretty successful one time told me, if you can't make a profit in 3 months, then you're probably doing the wrong thing, and it's probably a systemic problem.
For sure, no doubt about that. Well, let's talk more about your business coach. This is something that is really interesting to me, and I always ask you about this because most attorneys do not have a business coach. I don't think they realize that it's even a thing or what kind of impact that can make in their practice and in their life just in general. I'm curious, when and why did you decide to hire a business coach?
Yeah, well, it's a pretty easy answer. I think it was about 2 years after I was in practice by myself. 2014 is when I opened my practice, and I was introduced to Scorpion within about 9 months of opening my practice, and that was also a critical component of my success. Um, I I'm sitting there in my office just thinking, all I need is my phone to ring. Like if I get my phone ringing, I can do the rest. And Scorpion was critical with helping to get my phone ringing, and they still are critical to this day with helping to get my phone ring. So I thank you and I thank Scorpion for all the hard work that you guys do to help me grow and move and serve the community. But as far as the business coach, I think it was about 2 years into my practice. I had met a chiropractor who was very successful. We had lunch to try to get personal injury cases from him and build a network that way. Um, and he introduced me to an attorney who was, I think, 3 years into her practice, and she was making, I think, seven figures 3 years into her
Wow.
practice, and had a number of associates, I think, already. And when I spoke with her, um, she had the same business coach, and told me about her success, um, and I was just blown away. And I didn't, this he was an expensive business coach, um, but after talking with her, I thought I can't afford him right now, but I can't afford not to hire this guy. Like regardless of what this costs, if he's going to be able to help me to be that successful, then I can't afford not to hire this guy. So I called him up and we had an initial conversation. It was usually his fee was uh, broken up into about 6 months of payments, but I asked him if I could pay monthly towards the business coach fee, and he let me do that for the first year, and I didn't need to do it again after the first year. I think his initial I think pitch to me was, I think we can triple your business within a year, and I doubled it, I think, in the first year, and I think I've been pretty much moving in that trajectory ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. I love the story of in the background of the payment plans and that you didn't need them after the first year. That's awesome. It must have been effective. So what are some of the most important things that you've learned with that business coach?
Well, there are a lot of important things I think that have I've learned through the years, but there's a large emphasis on sales training um, and sort of the intake process that I've been sharpening my skills and sharpening the firm's skills on. Basically, we're always selling, and everything that we do is an act of sales, one way or the other. Whether we're trying to convince a prosecutor to give our client a break, or the judge to give our client a break, or get that client to hire us, it's all a sale, and it's all in the presentation and building rapport and being able to get people on our side. So they do a lot of sales training. Specifically, they also do executive coaching for business owners, and we have a quarterly training and a once a month 1 hour long individual training as well. And I would say systems and automation have been a very large component of what I've learned through the business coach, and he's also turned me on to some different books that have been really helpful for me to have the correct mindset when trying to think about my business, and helping me understand that a business is really something that's supposed to operate outside of yourself. Um, so one attorney businesses are not really it's not necessarily business. You're just an employee of that business. But trying to make it a profit with stepping out of the picture is sort of the goal of any business. So the way to do that, and just like McDonald's, I mean, Ray Kroc has been able to scale his business because he has a formula and a process to have the exact same hamburger at every single location, the exact same fries. You're never surprised by how McDonald's fries taste. You're never surprised by how their milkshake tastes. You're never surprised by how their double cheeseburger tastes. It's always the same. And the reason is because they have a process, they have manuals. The best hotels you've been to are the same way. It's not just chance that you have a mint on your pillow and everything is fluffed perfectly at a five-star hotel and the linens are drawn just right and there's a little note for you, and everything is done specifically by following systems and processes to make sure that each person has the same positive experience that each other has. So similarly with the law firm, my heart's desire is for every client to have the most positive experience possible. Like, it's no surprise that lawyers have bad names out there for being dishonest or for taking people's money and not doing a lot with it. And criminal defense lawyers are among many of those that don't have good names. But I view my business as an opportunity to change that narrative. And it's really my heart's desire to have everyone to have a better than five-star experience with our firm. And the only way to do that is to have a consistent experience. So we have a potential call policy that we've prepared that the administrative staff gets to tells them how to handle a potential client call when that client call comes in. We have a lead follow-up policy that's documented, and the purpose of these things is not to be overbearing to the staff. It's to help the staff to know what to do and to have it consistently applied. And if administrative assistants moves out of state, I'm not destroyed because I can replace that position with another high qualified person, and we have the materials there for them to pick up on day one. The lead follow-up policy helps the administrative staff to be able to follow up with leads that have come in, and that is a huge component of one of our reasons for success is letting people know that their case is important to us, because it really is, and to be following up with people, and we have a policy for that. We have a balance follow-up policy. So when people pay the first half of the fee, and we need to be able to try to get the second half of the fee, we have a policy on how the staff is supposed to follow up with that lead and try to get the second half of that fee paid. We have a manual, a criminal and DUI a policy and procedure manual, where we literally have from the initial client call coming in to the case closure, a step-by-step process on how that case should look and move. And that's a living, breathing document. Like yesterday, for example, we had a staff meeting all together to talk about some different challenges that we've been having with different cases. And there's no surprise that people are tight on money right now, and court cases are getting moved and bumped and brought forward and pushed back. And so we just have to continue to stay on that. But with the coronavirus and people being laid off and restaurants struggling, our clients are struggling too. So how can we make sure that we collect that second half of the fee? How can we be in better communication with the clients? How can we make sure these court dates get managed properly? And then we get their discovery, and the client gets a discovery, and we have a discovery review with the client. So we want it to be a consistent process, but we do modify that policy when things change like COVID, and we have to update how we do certain things. But that way there's no questions on what do I do if, or what do I do when. It's like, just take a look at the policy and it's right there. And if there's, if a staff member is not following that policy, it's easy to go back and redirect that behavior and say, like, this is the policy, and it's for everyone having a smoother road, basically. We have a personal injury auto accident case policy and procedure manual as well. But all these things are meant to create a scalable, repeatable result for each and every case that is a very high, value result for the client.
And it shows in your online reputation too. I mean, you have easily over 100, I think, just Google reviews on Google specifically. And your clients are happy to do that for you. And I'm sure part of your process is to, talk to clients about their reviews, or maybe not. I'm not sure exactly what you guys do on your
No, it's definitely part of the criminal policy.
good.
Yeah,
That makes sense. And it
absolutely.
shows in that online reputation, which is another piece of what makes your online marketing so successful, because people see what
Well,
you're about by the testaments people give about you.
yeah, well, you guys, Scorpion originally, I think it was Chris Carlberg, was my my marketing manager at the time, kind of drove home the importance of online reviews. And if we're doing online advertising, we have to be attractive online. And I take that very seriously. That our reviews reflect the quality representation that you receive here.
Definitely. What would 2020 have looked like for you if you hadn't had a business coach?
That's a great question. Um, Probably not great. We did better in 2020 than we did in 2019. We had to make some difficult decisions and navigate a really difficult landscape in 2020. But if I didn't have the advice that I had in 2020, it we also have more staff than we had in 2020. We have one more attorney, and we've made some staff transitions. We have more staff. I, I I would not have the same staffing. I know that. I was prepared to go down to just Mark again. I'll say that. When COVID started, I had to mentally prepare myself to just go back to Mark and answer phones, and like that's not where I wanted to be, but um, it's where I could have been possibly if I didn't have the correct coaching and guidance, and that dovetails into how Scorpion has helped me too. I didn't eliminate my budget in 2020 for Scorpion. I reallocated that budget. I reduced it a little bit, but I reallocated that budget to what was actually happening and what was actually still going to court and what could actually still bring money in. And it was a very good decision. And I'm very happy that we continued spending money and continued signing cases up because we have continued strong through the pandemic.
That's amazing that it was even a better year for you. A lot of people, it was okay or horrible, but not a lot of people did better than 2019. So that says a lot right there about the decisions you made and deciding to push through the fear and those self-limiting beliefs. I bet you had to really silence those during that tough time.
Yeah, and you guys have been a big part of that too, Kelly. So thank you for all your help.
Thank you. You're welcome. We love it. We love being able to help. And I'm curious about you. Something I think that sets you apart from a lot of other people out there is that you find time and you make time for what's important to you. And you're really good about prioritizing the things that align with your life and your beliefs. I mentioned earlier in the intro that you're an avid fisherman. Like you make time for that to happen. And your family life is important to you too. You prioritize those things. But you're also very successful in your business. Like what do you attribute that to?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's important for me and for anyone to be setting personal goals as well as business goals, and that's what I do. Every time I have a quarterly training, and every 90 days I set goals for the next 90 days. And I don't just set goals for the business to make a certain amount of money or hire or acquire or whatever. I also set business goals because that's really the business drives the personal for me. Like the business allows me to live the life that I want to live and have the freedom and flexibility potentially that I can have. But setting personal goals is critical. For example, working less, spending time with my son, like you said, and my wife, and getting time to fish. Those things help me to be a better strategic business owner too, because I'm not uh, burnt out and uh, overworked and just able to give back to both my clients and to the business and to my staff. So I think it's critical to be setting personal goals as well as business goals. And I think the personal goals might be more important even than the business goals.
I agree. And like you said, the business drives the personal, not the other way around. And that's really easy to forget when you get stuck in that hamster wheel. Well, Mark, thank you for doing this with me today. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing all of your knowledge with us.
Pleasure, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And where can people go to find out more about you?
Well, our website that you guys are so kind to manage and put together for us is ScheuermanLaw.com. That's SCHEUERMANLAW.com.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Mark. If you found today's episode valuable, do us a favor, share this episode with the people in your circle. You can also check out our show notes over on our website, scorpion.co. That's scorpion.co without the M. Thank you very much for your time today. We will see you next time.